Hello and welcome to Dickish at Best, a off-topic adult-oriented podcast where we do dirty stuff. No, we don't do dirty stuff. We actually, the point of this podcast, since it's still pretty new, I guess that's worth putting in here, is to have three friends get together, shoot the shit, talk stories, talk about things that are happening, be it pop culture, just things we want to talk to each other about or whatever, and we do it with the lighthearted nature of, we can get serious, but we can also have some dumb, lighthearted jokes or crazy jokes or off-the-wall jokes. That's why we're not assholes. We're just dickish at best. But with that said, if you want to find us, you can do so every other Friday on video format on YouTube. Subscribe, and you can hit the little bell notification to let you know when this video goes live every time if you like to watch us. If you want to listen to us instead, you can do so via most of the podcast services. By the time this is ready to go up, we should be on iTunes, no problem. So it looks like there's a lot of funny stuff happening over here.
I just now realized. By the way, I'm Saul Bridges.
He keeps staring at himself.
I'm Saul Bridges. You guys may know me from Triangle Squared.
Yeah, Saul and I are hosts on a PlayStation-based podcast called Triangle Squared, and then we have our buddy here, Blaze, who is going to be a staple on here unless his wife murders him, which we don't know. That could happen.
That's
at any
very
given
possible.
time.
Won't do it.
I don't know, man. Anybody who's willing to get that kind of a mullet.
Your wife has a mullet?
Oh, she does have a mullet.
Have you not seen Jess in a while?
No.
Okay, well, there you go.
Last time I saw Jess, I walked in on her in the bathroom. I think it was Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
But
Okay.
no, I was laughing because you said, click the bell when when we go up, after just saying every other Friday at 5 p.m.
I guess so. But look, there's just a way you rock and do it. But anyway, what you been up to this week, fellers? And I put that
Playing a lot of Destiny
on
2.
that feller.
Playing a lot of Destiny 2.
We did play Destiny 2, but this is not Triangle Squared, so we're not
I know,
talking
that's
about...
what I was referencing. I was like, we kind of talked about that on Triangle Squared.
Did anybody do anything of interest this week? Would be the beginning
Absolutely
point.
not.
No, not at all.
Worked.
One thing that I guess we could talk about is the fact that, and I just think it's funny anyway, if you watch the last episode, anybody who watched the last episode will know that there was a point in the thing where I'm not even going to say we were messing with Saul as much as Blaze and I both somehow in our minds inserted a pause somewhere where there was absolutely not one. Now, it's funny. We went back and watched it, and it was like there was totally not a pause there.
It was
Blaze
absolutely not a pause there.
Both heard one.
Well, you see, Brett, me and you are on the same frequency.
Oh,
On the
yeah.
same wavelength.
We're on the same
Yes.
spectrum.
Whoa. Now that's...
You know the thing where everybody's like, we're just all fucking wavelengths, man, and we're just the world's one wavelength, and we see things, and everything's made of waves. The funny thing is, everybody at some point in their life will say some shit like that, where it's just like, I am young, but I have mastered what the world is. The world, man, like I remember whenever we were teenagers.
Oh, no.
You remember Christian, right?
Oh, yeah.
We were in the back, and he was, of course, smoking pot. And he's like, man, you ever think about it? It's just like, we could be like, that ant that's on that blade of grass? That's us to someone else, bro. And I was just like, yeah, you're a 17-year-old who's figured out the entirety of how the universe works with no issues.
What if he's right?
At all. He could be. But I think it's also it shows a lot of bravado to want to be like, I already know everything there is to know about the universe and how it works because I'm so enlightened. Now, the bigger question about that, and of course I talk about this stuff all the time.
Just ranting and you're assuming you knew everything, so you're being a dick.
I'm being an asshole.
Got that backwards.
Even then, it's not that. What I'm saying is I just think it's ballsy for anybody to realistically, he said that, so it is the what if. But I mean, a lot of the times people will do those based off of things that we do scientifically know to some extent, right? It's like that is very likely found in the fact that we know the universe is incredible, or at least if you want to believe scientists, we know the universe is incredibly large. We're just a very small part of it. We're a one planet, one solar system, in one galaxy, in a multitude of galaxies.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just each time it's like, oh yeah, this is a shoot the shit podcast. Well, you see, while you're
Well, I mean, but
religion was created in 1312 to
no, I get what you mean, but I just think it's funny. It's like the assertion there is that he said the what if in the sense, no, the assertion.
Insertion.
You gotta be assertive, not insertive. But yeah, it's just to be able to look at it and be like, I assert that this is a possibility because I'm just that smart and I know everything. It's not, I guess everybody has that point in their life where they let their ego get to a point where it's like, and it's not even that it's a normal ego, right? It's not like, oh, I'm the smartest. It's like, I have reached the max because I'm allowing myself to be the subversive of who knows what the max potential of the world.
Are you keeping up with this? I don't understand how we got here.
Yeah.
Nobody understands how we got here.
I think Brett just had something on his mind he needed to get out.
Well, no, it's
So have y'all heard of the conspiracy
I
theory?
think about him talking about that ant every day.
That
for
fish
the
sticks
past
comes
10
from
years.
mermaids.
Have you ever heard the conspiracy that gay fish love fish sticks? No, but hold on. Is this why? A, we can't start this podcast every time with a conspiracy.
No, you
but
do it.
secondarily,
Yeah, let's.
You do.
secondarily,
You already started us into Joe Rogan territory, which naturally comes with conspiracy theories and aliens.
but hold on.
Do y'all believe in aliens?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I believe
Not aliens in the sense of the little green man, but aliens as a fact of intelligent life. Sure,
somewhere outside of us. Yeah,
absolutely.
I
It
think
makes sense. Like we're such a large galaxy.
Have
that
you
they're-
seen the?
it's a numbers game.
Have you seen the Air Force reporting UFOs here lately?
Have
hear-
you
Like
seen
recently.
Tom DeLonge?
I hear
DeLonge?
there's a place called
Whatever.
Area 51.
No.
Oh Lord, Saul.
Oh.
But I mean, you know, it's whatever. I guess is do you believe in something like that? I guess when it comes to that, the question's always funny. Is like, do I believe in aliens because I've seen them? No, but do I believe that there's a high likeliness that we aren't the only form of intelligent life in a vast, infinite nothing? I'm not saying nothing, but you know, a vast, infinite, whatever you want to call the
Something.
universe. Is that at some point the numbers would suggest that it's highly likely somebody else would have been around and be smart. Now, does that mean they would have ever reached out to us? Maybe we're further along than them, but even then, if they're intelligent life and on another planet, they're still aliens.
Right.
So,
I mean, technically, they're from other countries.
He's been holding that in for.
Depending on, I mean, yeah.
did you start this conversation with that joke in mind?
No, I did not.
No one started this conversation. I don't
I
think
didn't
you
st-
understand how instantly went.
I didn't start this conversation with anything in mind. I just had to get us in this conspiracy talk that
No.
we always have to
Do
have.
you wish that we would have made this into a
conspiracy.
conspiracy podcast?
Not too late.
No, I mean, technically, it could have a conspiracy corner part of the podcast.
That would be the section, the conspiracy corner that we open up with every week.
No, instead
Somebody
it
in-
could be the same name.
Every episode.
Dickish at best.
Somebody in Discord
Instead
had,
of dot dot dot, it's question mark.
dot question mark.
They were talking about in Discord about the Chuck E. Cheese thing I was talking about last week, and they're like, "That's totally true," but I forgot who said it. I'm not saying it's true because I don't want to be sued by Chuck E. Cheese.
I think it was Kiki, but more importantly, I didn't realize how big that had gotten.
Oh no, dude,
back
it got
then.
massive. It got like 2 months, 3 months ago. Whenever Shane Dawson did that video, there was like people on Reddit and Twitter and other places just like ordering Chuck E. Cheese pizza for the sole purpose of seeing if it's misshaped.
Of a gotcha moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the gotcha journalist at our local Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, see,
Sir, you can't wear a GoPro in here. There's children.
here's the thing.
I am American citizen.
They actually joked about that.
Are
a lot
you
too.
trying to hide from the conspiracy?
What are you hiding, sir? I just work here for $8 an hour. Leave me alone.
It's funny you brought that up because Shane Dawson's like, I'm a 30-year-old man with a camera in Chuck E. Cheese's. But yeah, it's like I don't really know.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Shane Dawson video, but I guess the other thing is I didn't realize how
interesting
big of a
stuff.
YouTuber Shane Dawson is.
Dude, he's been a big YouTuber like 10 years now.
I never
At
know.
least.
I didn't even know Jeffree Star was still around until I walked into my bedroom one day and my wife was watching Jeffree Star and I was like, oh,
That dude's a piece of shit.
he stayed relevant. I don't know anything about
don't
him.
know.
Oh, dude, yeah.
That could be just a camera personality.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it half the time is, right?
I don't know.
You remember the hit song, the
No, I'm
Kick
talking
Off Your
about, like-
Stilettos?
Like, there's him.
Was that
there's-
him?
Yeah, I believe that was Jeffree Star.
There's videos of him just casually throwing away the N-word, like just casually.
Really?
Yeah, at people too, like at other people, insulting them. It's just like, yeah, wow. How are you still famous? Like when people make little minor missteps when cancel culture is so big, like.
And he was trying to almost be part of it with the whole James Charles thing, which is way over my head.
I don't even know
because
what
I
that-
know
yeah.
nothing about makeup. The most I know about James Charles is I knew who he was just because he was young, and Hannah was watching him one day back here when she would still come in the game room and watch YouTube while I was gaming. So I'd look over, I was like, who is this like 16-year-old man who is doing makeup? I was like, okay. And then she was like, oh, this is a kid. He's gay. He's been doing this stuff. I was like, okay, cool. And apparently he bought a mansion like really quickly after
YouTube money.
he started his thing.
I'm
Yeah.
dead serious. Like, yeah, YouTube money and probably brand
So
money.
essentially, that's as much as I ever knew about him. So then they're like, and then they said something about Toddy. I was like, or is that her name? Toddy? I don't know.
I don't know.
See, so I was just like, I have no clue what's going on here.
Jess watches nothing but makeup videos on there.
Hannah. That's all she does.
It's like us watching nothing but us watching nothing but gaming videos.
I mean, I don't really do that either.
Yeah, I've been watching more of Howard Stern lately.
Didn't he move away from Sirius?
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
And is he on YouTube?
He's on a weird new format though, like where it's like I don't know how like the history of his show, but first of all, it's really weird to see him without sunglasses on. Second of all, it is like he's way far away from the guest. He's like 15 feet away from the guest, and they sit pretty far apart. Where
is he behind like a DJ desk? Like
he's behind like a desk with like 6 monitor setup or something. Like it's like he has like 6 monitors to his right.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. That's weird. Yeah. You know, one of the things you
don't know who Howard Stern is?
Well, hold on, for real? You don't know who Howard Stern is?
Oh, dude, he's like one of the original podcasters.
Essentially, that's what I was going to say. Do you consider him to be a podcaster or more of a traditional radio person?
Kind of the same thing.
I mean, I've heard the name, but I've never listened to any of it.
He's a guy like he's done a lot of things on his shows before, and some of them get out of hand. But him and I think Kevin Smith,
isn't he like
the Smodcast is like
one of the originals? Yeah. Like goes way back, but technically Howard Stern was doing radio talk show before, which is kind of what podcasts have evolved into in a weird way.
Oh, okay.
They've used him in movies and stuff.
Let me see that picture of him because does he have the glasses on?
Yeah,
dude.
Now hold on. There's a picture of him without his glasses. I would have never imagined his eyes looked like that. And his hair
shorter. It's a weird change, but I've been watching a lot of stuff on like, especially now that I've gone back really into Destiny. Like full time for whatever game I'm playing, it becomes natural to have a podcast on. And like, I kind of recycle the same Joe Rogan guest over and over again. Like I watched Macaulay Culkin's again because that was a really, really good episode. I've watched Tom DeLonge like 4 times now. I watched
all the Duncan Trussell ones.
The Duncan Trussell ones are great.
I love Duncan Trussell.
I'm actually sad he's not been on in a
while.
Theo
Vaughn as well. I think he's only been on 3 of them? 2 of them?
Theo?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think twice that I remember.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. But
it's always hilarious because he drops the best jokes. And then Joe's just like,
dude, yeah.
Well, do you wonder
him on Hot Ones was good.
Theo?
Yeah.
Oh, but as far as like Blaze's thing, because Blaze has said that, and I went back and watched, I was like, he's right. Because I'm normally kind of half listening, so I'll hear something, I'll just laugh and keep going. It depends on what I'm doing, but I'll think about it sometimes. Sometimes we'll be in the middle of a podcast, and you'll be so focused on what podcasting is and like trying to keep your focus on what you want to talk about that small things that get said will actually, and definitely the way Theo says them, where they're like meant to be slid under jokes. Yeah, and I think Joe misses them not because I think it's almost like in trying to focus and listen, but also get to the next point he's wanting to get to. Sometimes some things just go and don't register because it's just like trying to stay on focus. Because one of the things about podcasting that gets really interesting is trying to do exactly what Joe talks about sometimes, which is like listen to the other people. Try and remember things that bring up in the middle of a conversation that you want to talk about, or if depending on what you're talking about. So if it's like a free flow, like when he has comedians on there, it's great because it's more of like what this is, I think, or what we think this is trying to be. Of course, we don't really know until we go back and listen and give it more time. But when he has other people on, it's like he has to listen to them, let them explain their side of whatever it is they're talking about, and then if there's something that comes up, he tries to hold it until there's a spot where you can tell they're at a stopping point, and then he can be like, before we lose this, can we go back and talk about what exactly this is? And depending on how important it is, he'll try and like stop them for a second, just be like, hey, for those who don't know, can you explain what this is so that the rest of this sentence makes context? But I mean, I don't know. What the thing about that is, Blaze, you have like essentially 0 podcasting experience on a real consistent basis. Do you feel any of that weird like background pressure in your head of like, pay attention to what's being said, make sure I'm responding, and then other things like trying to find like your podcast voice, which is not talking a certain way, but it's projecting a specific way where you're trying to stay a relatively smooth volume across the board?
I mean, as far as talking, I'm trying not to be monotone because that's just naturally me by nature.
I think I have you beat.
Your brother has us both beat.
Yeah,
but
he can. But the thing about Blaze is,
what I was gonna say is the only thing I'm having trouble with is trying to. I want to be like, hey, slow down, like, because you kind of bounce. Me and you both have talked before how we're bad about bouncing around. So I noticed you doing it. But you can't just stop someone else talking mid. Be like, hey.
I mean, sometimes you can. I guess it depends on what it is. But how strict do you want this podcast to be? Is it just meant to be saying stuff and joking? And subject matter matters in that sense. But your voice thing, what's funny about that is that Blaze has had to focus on that anyway. I don't know if we've ever told you this story, but Blaze and I have worked at the same place off and on, time and again. But specifically, there's one person at the place I still work at and that Blaze no longer is at, where one of the people would always think that Blaze was being
like super mean to him, I'm
because he's just like flat. So they'd call him. He's focused. He's in the middle of driving around town, and Blaze already has monotone, like to an extent. And
So
then when
you
you're
think
focused, it gets worse. So Lisa would be like, "I need you to do this, this, and this," and Blaze would be like, "Okay," and then hang up.
not even that bad. I'd be like, okay, but
I guess they just got the wrong idea.
Well, she's incredibly sensitive.
They read the they read the tone of your voice wrong. I guess
it happens.
It happens.
It does.
I mean, and I agree. That comes down to what you grow up with. My family was real. Just you say what you need to say, and you get it out.
Oh yeah, blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't have to make anyone feel better about something as simple as being like, okay, this is her job to tell me what needs to be done. Okay, or I'll try to do that.
Yeah. Well, then that's the thing too of any job when you go in. It's like, for some reason, if you just say I'll try to do it, that's also hostile for some reason. Instead of just saying I'll get it done, it's like, no, I'm trying to be honest.
That comes to personality issues with them as opposed to.
That's true, but some people will be like, "Well, I'm your boss."
They want to hear what they want to hear, and I'm just being. I am not dishonest. I will. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's important in a job.
I am very.
Well, that's why you always say I'll try my best. Or I'll try my hardest. Like, not you say I'm gonna do it.
I'd say that too, though.
I know, just to avoid because at that point, if you say that, then anything that they expect to be done that doesn't get done, and they're like, "Well, I thought you were gonna get done." It's like, no, I literally told you I'll try my hardest.
I know.
And then it becomes their problem because it was their problem for misreading you.
Oh yeah. Anyway. That's a long rabbit hole discussion as far as that old stuff.
Well, I mean, when you think about the way that goes anyway, it's just the differences of personalities. And I think some of that might have been that, and that even ties into the way a podcast like this should work. And part of the reason I always thought it'd be cool to add you in is that Saul and I already have a rapport on camera and on mic that we understand each other, so we know how to relatively bounce between each other. I still interrupt him sometimes, and I constantly. Sometimes. Hold on. What I mean by that is that when I do, I feel like, and if I haven't, that's fine. I'd rather you tell me, but I feel like I have gotten to a point when I do interrupt you, I very quickly try and say, I interrupted you also. So go back and try and finish.
I think something we have to worry about, at least from a Triangle Squared perspective, is we focus on one thing too much. And when it becomes, I notice that sometimes we'll be talking about something for way too long, and it gets on my nerves, which means it's gonna get on the viewer's nerves. Because if I'm already say this past week we did the community thing, we did that for more than half the episode, and it was just kind of well, we're rehashing the topic from last week, so we need to kind of not go through this quickly, but go through it at a brisk pace, or go through it at a pace where we're not drawing out to make it a whole nother topic, kind of like what we did. And I think that for those that listen constantly, like Corey, Kiki, and everybody else in our Discord, when they hear this go up, I'm kind of curious as to what they'll think. But this will go up on their Discord Friday, even though it doesn't release on this coming Friday, right?
No, Monday of the week. That way, it just gives us time to.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's just it seems fair to me. I mean, get it 5 days early.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, every Friday is something, and then every Monday is something.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of Monday and Fridays. Check into YouTube for us or SoundCloud. But it's not even something. I think what it is it's not bad conversation for us. It's potentially bad conversation for the viewer. Yeah. And it's going through something that they have already listened to, and that they may, we're having fun talking, but that's something we would do, in person. In person. And I do think that it comes down to keeping in mind what they're thinking, or what their potential of their thinking is too, because now it's just kind of we're talking about, we're jumping topics a lot. Some people don't like that, but then some people don't understand that this is a more free form, and this doesn't really have a structure of any kind. It kind of just jumps topics naturally, and it kind of just progresses that way for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be. And I think that that's something that we can't help. But then there's some things that we can help, like staying close to the mic or not cutting each other off. Or
even the jumping topics, I think that can be helped to an extent, because there's a difference between talking about different topics and jumping topics than leaving a lot of stuff unfinished. Because me and Brett have discussed it before. We're really bad about it. Like, outside of this, just talking, because me and with other people around, I think you might have observed it before. We'll talk about something and we just automatically assume the other person knows where we're going with it.
We do that me and Brett do that all the time on Untitled Squared. And
which I feel like is a layer of, and that's why I think that's sometimes I want to expound, because I'm like, the flip side of what you were just talking about before we lose that, of like trying to be mindful of what the other person who would be consuming the content would be doing. Well, the other side of that too is like you have two sides of that same coin. So it's like one side is in the moment of listening to this episode, how do they feel about what we're talking about? But also the flip side of the reason that exists in the first place is to try and give a community input in the show. And yeah, I think that you're probably right on that episode. We probably went a little too far into it. And I think some of it is that, like we've talked about in the past, of I do have a little bit of a feeling where, like, right now I feel like we're at a good size where in my mind I'm like, I try not to leave anybody out, but we realistically should probably try and some of that might also come from the fact that we don't read them prior, and maybe we should read them prior so that we can compound how many times that somebody says the same thing, so that it's easier to just skip it and go, well, this infamous has already been talked about, instead of even just bringing it up again. We'll just go and try and rotate if we see similar names.
Well, I think that if we're going to do that, at that point we would already be reading select ones or fewer ones, because we would have too many. But then that would instantly, like, without even having to bring that up, that would kind of flow in a conversation anyways, because we wouldn't bring out Infamous, because that wouldn't be one that we technically picked. Right?
Yeah.
So like that would, because we did talk about it prior. Or like there's two being infamous, we don't bring up the second one at all because we talked about it already, and people know that there's a chance that theirs won't get read. But the problem with this is that it's too inconsistent for us. Like it's kind of what we talked about reader mail being like, I don't know, 6 months in, where we had to start picking 3 or 5 or whatever we did,
because we were getting so many.
Well, we were getting so many in one week, and then we were getting like 3 the next. And it was like, we need a consistent number. Like, we're gonna read 3 or 5. Yeah. And then that way it's going to be the consistent each episode, which we could do for community. Like, we will read 2 apiece or something.
Yeah, and see, I think that's the thing about podcasting is trying to,
it's a learning
on any
curve.
given podcast, trying to listen back and understand things that you could potentially learn to make the podcast better. And we're going to have to do that here as well.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those
even
things
like
that you
here,
learn
we
as you
don't
go.
have to have designated topics, but if you think of something during the week that'd be good to talk about or bring up, that way there's no complete random moments or, say dead zones or what have you.
Well, this goes...
Like, some funny happened at job, write down what it was, that way.
And if you notice that we're going toward potentially a lot, just kind of a randomness, then you can say one way we can get that back on is notes. If we get to them, great. If we don't, because the conversation's so good, then we just keep going with whatever we're conversating about.
If anything did anything this week, I'm like, well, shit, what the hell did I do? I don't remember doing anything this week.
Well, my week has really been uneventful, but technically, that's what I kind of told, was saying to you guys when we talked about starting this, was that there's a lot of times in which you go almost into everything thinking too much about it, because naturally, at least for me, I'm going to talk about things that have happened to me to y'all anyways. Yeah, they would just be using it on the podcast, and
we don't see each other outside of this much,
right, yeah.
Sadly, and that's partially because we do this so often,
right?
Which is not bad.
It's not.
There's definitely friends that don't see each other at least every 2 weeks,
right?
And I mean, we see each other more often than that, actually, thankfully. But it's more like I see Blaze typically around once a week, unless he gets a package shipped here. And in your situation, like you're saying, stuff that happened to you, if you're going to tell it to us anyway, we always kind of pictured this show as getting together and shooting the shit. And the idea of what that really stood for was...
It's really just hanging out with mics.
Exactly. Yeah. What we already always did, where we would just sit and talk for a couple hours and just say crazy crap and or stuff that happened.
The fundamentals behind Triangle Squared. It's like we got up and talked about PlayStation games every weekend. It was like maybe I recorded it.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's a big problem there too. Or I say, we've talked about it before, in which that it almost became... not work, but it didn't become hanging out at that point anymore. It became like getting here, getting our topics ready, and everything like that, to where we weren't really casual.
And I think you're right. And I think that's because of Triangle Squared's structure, right?
Yeah.
Triangle Squared structure is we have segments that we move through. I think that works. I think what we talked about with that kind of was the fuel for that, even though that's morphed and the format doesn't support it as much. I think this format supports it as well. It's just some of it's going to be getting used to doing this style of podcast when we're so used to doing something that's formatted and has a specific topic that we come into each week.
Right.
This is going to be more of coming in and letting the thought process that we normally get caught in with Triangle Squared, of where we need to know where we're going so that the format can hold. And in this, there really isn't a format. It's about getting together, letting that thought block process go down to where we aren't coming in and even saying something as simple as like what I said coming in of like, did anything happen? It probably shouldn't even really be that way. It should just be that we're getting together.
Just naturally talking
yeah,
about it.
and I think that's some of it's going to come from
Doing
Blaze
this a
forgetting that the camera is there, as much as we have learned to do that as much as possible. And then this is still different for us. So this is still like, I'm a little more thinking about the fact that the camera's here is because this is a different setup for us. So it's like, I still have to get used to this. And I don't know if you're going through that at all, but
I mean, not really. I'm just kind of sitting however. Like the camera's going to be facing me in this position right now for
just
like
trying
this
to
way.
get comfy in this damn chair.
Yeah, dude, this chair, like, I don't know what it is, but this chair hurts my tailbone.
Yeah, I'm like, I keep falling. I had to raise it up.
I'm about to get a butt cushion. It's like, it does have a triangle square too. Like when I have to get up and stretch, it's not only because of my back, and it's my butt.
you know what? You guys buy all the
Well,
chairs.
so why do you need a butt cushion?
Man,
From all
this
that
chair.
pushing?
All the pushing.
All the pushing from
You
the
know,
butt
I do
cushion?
have something I was thinking about earlier that I was going to talk about. I know that you will have input for it, but I know it's necessarily something you don't do.
Okay, so our pull down for Triangle Square just flipped over
flipped
because
over.
of the pressure.
But
That was hilarious.
Scared the fuck out of me. I'm not even gonna lie.
I hope
Blaze was like, pull out the knife, drive through, plop, plop, plop.
But anyways, so I know Brett doesn't watch a lot of movies, but like what I was thinking about it as we were talking about it last night, me and my wife were. What are some of y'all's favorite horror movies? And I know like
Horror.
yeah, like horror. Like,
Horror. Your mother's a whore.
A horror movie.
horror.
Is
Anyway, horror.
that a South thing? Is that like a Southern thing?
It is.
Horror.
It's like R
Like when people say you worship
No.
the devil,
or your.
No, try to say.
you worship
I have to say this very clearly. Try to say iron.
Iron.
What, iron.
Iron.
Oh,
Oh, I put the r.
yeah.
I go iron.
Iron.
So does Kyrie. When one of our
But
favorite
that's
local
a,
restaurants
That's a southern thing.
Well,
Saying
so
it
is
like that-
washing
with the
machine.
R on it.
Yeah, the or.
the or with the IR.
Hey, iron is a or.
I mean, I don't think that's Southern. If anything, that would
No,
be
it's Southern.
That would
No,
be
'cause
over
it's
pronunciation. You know what I mean?
No,
that would be
saying it
more
like that-
looking at it
no,
from a
'cause
literal
it-
standpoint.
It's like
it's
saying
iron.
wash
Well, see, for me,
instead of wash.
my
It's
example
pronounced
of
like iron. I can't even fucking do it.
I run.
Iron.
There was something we were doing in an opening for one Triangle Square that I couldn't get. It was like our
Yeah, I can't remember what it was either.
something. It was like are we are or R or something. It was weird.
Well, just to be real, I completely say iron.
Well, okay, hold on. What you're saying was we're saying it with an R as a Southern thing. I almost never hear anybody say it. Everybody just says,
How
I'm going
often do
to
you hear-
Ironwood. And to me, iron is
I'll say-
Southern.
You're in the.
You
in
say
the
that with
South.
an accent though.
Yeah,
that's the way you just said it has a Southern accent to it. You just can't
You
hear
just
it.
you don't
'Cause
hear-
No, that's
How
what I
of-
did
how
that on
often does the
purpose
word-
as a Southern accent. That's what I'm saying. That's what I
But
hear people say.
how often does the word iron come up outside of
A lot of work.
When I go to Ironwood all the time,
I'm talking about
Ironwood.
outside of being here in the South. Like if you, next time we're in Anaheim, hey, can you say iron?
Say
what the
this-
fuck are you?
say-
It's
say-
iron.
well, see, that's what I think. I don't think that saying it with an R is necessarily exactly a Southern thing. I think it's like, and Kyrie might be getting it from me. I can sometimes I'll say Ironwood, like Ironwood, with the R being more notable. But see, and part of it's like when you're trying to analyze yourself saying something, it's like the scene
you
in
know
How I
how
Met Your
it's-
Mother where
yes.
Ted's sitting there, he's like bowl. Bowl.
Back to horror movies.
But yeah, back to horror movies.
I know.
Scary movies, spooky movies. What are some of y'all's favorites? We watched this one. It was a really like campy one, and I can't even remember the name of it now.
I don't care for campy.
Well, I don't really normally either, but like
Well, how campy?
very campy. It was like Corey will probably
Power
know the one I'm
Rangers?
talking about. No, horror movie though.
But I'm saying, but like, if you took Power Rangers and put it in a horror setting,
Well,
that
like,
style of campy?
It was what it was it featured
The
a
hell
clown.
you mean campy?
Campy is like almost like
It's
cheesy
cheesy.
on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Or it's cheesy for the sake of being cheesy.
That's why I use the same word is used when you're looking at Power Rangers. Power Rangers is a campy action show.
And it could also equivalent to like low budget stuff like that as well, where cheesy doesn't always necessarily have to be low budget.
Mhm.
But this movie was like about a clown, and it was
Of course.
it's like a series of movies with the same clown in it, and this movie was really weird where it was one story of like this babysitter who was babysitting these kids on Halloween, and they found a VHS tape in their Halloween bag, and they watched a movie. Well, it wasn't actually like, it was 3 separate short films, and they all featured the same character, and it all became one overarching kind of story, like where it actually even bled into real life with the babysitter in them. And
so to make sure I'm understanding and following, I don't know if Blaze has the same question or not. Maybe I just, it's one movie, but the movie is 3 stories that make up the entirety of the movie?
yes, it's almost like a movie called Trick or Treat, which is the same way. And that movie's really good, though.
Okay.
This movie was not bad, but it was just one of those weird ones. But we got to like thinking about it, and I did this thing like where if I get in a horror movie kick, I try to go find the horror movies, and I couldn't like really find any that I haven't seen. And I was hoping maybe y'all have seen one or know of one that I maybe not have seen, and we could talk about it. Or maybe
the last one I watched was the new Halloween a while back.
Was that any good?
No,
No,
not really. The only thing that was well done was there was a cinematography analyzing words again, but it was a single pan shot or single
No cut
shot of
Or
him
single
going
cut,
around, and then they go on. Anyway, it was really cool. It was a no cut shot of him going through this one house. It was going through the whole neighborhood, and it kind of lined up really. It was really cool. Well
so
done.
I like those kinds of movies.
Oh God.
Or that do any kind of shot that does that well like that. Because Birdman was all one continuous shot with a cut at the end, but you couldn't.
See, I don't know what Birdman is. Is Birdman a horror movie?
No.
Or is it
Birdman
like
is and that was All Hallows Eve for the people that want to know. No, technically it was Vulture, but it's a story about Michael Keaton, he's like a retiring play actor, and he plays in a character named Birdman, and the character actually comes to life, and it's like his alter ego who's like kind of helping.
So it's a thriller almost.
No, not really. I really don't know what the drama. I guess kind of like. It has Emma Stone in it and Edward Norton, and it kind of goes on like with their like on and off relationship or like their relationship. It's been a few years since I've seen it. It's been almost since release, but I can't really describe what it is, but it's really good.
I think the biggest thing here is like I don't watch enough movies, and I think that's why you say like you already knew going into it. I don't watch enough to know. I watch so few of movies that I can't even think of notable horror movies, and I'm not even sure that I completely. I'm not even sure that I completely understand the genre, as weird as that may sound. I think sometimes that you can see it, but I think sometimes I view things about certain movies and loop them together in some ways because like I don't think you may have watched it. Did you watch Us?
No.
Okay. Us is kind of more of a thriller.
That's the
See, Get Out is a thriller
movie,
to me.
it?
That's not even really a horror to me. It's just a thriller. But the thing about Us is that Us has got some of the things that you typically see in a movie like Halloween or something where it's like
that's the other Jordan
unknown
Peele
people
movie, right?
are coming up. Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm on the same page. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So, but that movie, the difference is like going into it, it's like, it's not that the mystery all around like going through and what Get Out's premise kind of ends up being, where it's more just about it's a psychological thriller. It's things that mess with you psychologically. And I guess in a sense, horror messes with you psychologically, but it's more about like, it seems like a lot of people view it. Is it like subgenres of horror then that get into it? Like,
well, there's suspense, there's thriller, there's
slasher, stuff like that.
And see, like, so what would you consider Halloween?
A slasher movie.
That's what I figured.
I mean,
but I
want
to make sure.
Slasher, thriller, something like that.
Because it kind of has elements of both.
Well, the music tied with like Michael Myers walking, it's very suspenseful and very very thriller-ish. Where you're sitting there like, what's he gonna do? Who's he gonna get? Is he gonna get him? I don't know about the new.
That's why I can't watch those. I mean, I watch them, and certain moods I enjoy them, but a lot of times like, you know what the hell's about to happen?
Well, see, and that's why I think to some extent I'm not sure that I like the idea of a slasher because. For the most part, it's like, am I really getting anything out of this? They always end up having a story, right? Halloween's always had a story about why. So it's like Halloween's happening, and then there's also this tie-in of, well, why is he doing this? What is his motivation?
Well, and that was what was most wrong with the newest one. They introduced characters that you thought were actually going to progress the story, and they were there purely every time they all were just there to introduce something.
And then they end up probably being killed by Michael Myers.
Yeah, it's like these two characters.
Convenience.
No, like you thought these two characters. Yeah, convenience. You thought these two characters were going to be there to you actually learn something new. No, they were just there so he gets the mask. this one character, oh, it's going to explain the no, this is just how he gets out of this situation. Like they were just used, not instead of character development, they were used to just
move the plot.
Yeah.
That's what I like so much about Ritual on Netflix. It's like a Netflix original horror movie, and it's what we've talked about so much before with cult horror, I guess is what you would call it, or not, I guess, pagan horror. What is that called? Like where
what?
Or not pagan horror,
like ritualistic
pagan.
stuff.
Ritual horror or something, which is funny because that's the name of the movie. But yeah,
I mean,
it's what is that though? Like that kind of genre of stories that's out deep dark in the woods. There's people sacrificing other people. And
see, that's what I mean. I don't know that I watch enough movies to ever be able to purely delineate them in a way that most cinephiles would. I think,
I guess.
And
so.
see, like, I guess when is the point? I think that when I'm thinking about it to myself, I think I watch so few of movies that I am well under the average person. But I don't know if that's true.
No, that's not true. And that's the thing is that, like, I think you're having to establish a label to it, but you don't have to.
Well, no, I don't have to. But when people talk about them and be like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And it just goes through and then everybody else how I'm around, I'm like, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. I'm like, I've not seen a single one of these movies.
Yeah. No,
And now,
if I go to the theaters, it's something that I want to see.
Yeah,
like,
I go to the theaters once a year.
Yeah, but you watch a lot of movies at home.
See, and I don't.
I essentially don't watch a movie
lately.
unless I watch it in a theater, and that's still very seldom. So it's like I enjoy movies, but they're not my main form of not even
That's
TV.
not my main form
you know
of
what
entertainment,
I mean?
though.
So what would you consider to be your main form of media consumption? And music is
Not
a little
counting
weird.
video games or music, then probably TV shows. Like
Okay, well, I mean, like put games in because I think games could do the same thing,
It'd
right?
probably
It's multimedia technically, but there's one genre that it stays under.
Would probably be games, and then
See, that's
following
it
that
for
would
me
be
as
TV
well.
shows, and then I would probably honestly say books now that I'm reading more, and then it'd probably be movies at the last.
So if you had to pie chart this, I'd say a percentage based to an extent.
80% games, 15% movies, 3% books, or
Movies and TV together, you're gonna put those kind of together, or
no,
how do you wanna do that?
I would say like 80% games, 15% shows, 3% movies, 2% books.
Okay, see, I think mine, because realistically, how often I end up watching something, even to the extent of when I am watching a series, 9 times out of 10 these days, it's when I'm laying in bed playing something else, and it's just on in the background, something I've already watched, and it's only there to act as this weird sound buffer, kind of like what you're talking about when you listen to a podcast while playing Destiny, because the game that you're playing, like, you don't listen to a podcast in Destiny when there's actually new story content, right?
No.
But as soon as that new story content which is up, which is normally within a week, you're going to play everything that there is. Once you're done with that, then it's back to this game is built upon mechanical basis.
Yeah,
so I'm going to listen to this other
like
thing
that,
as well.
Enter the Gungeon and like Grand Theft Auto and
So
stuff
for
like
me,
that.
I typically play the Vita in bed, and I can't think of a Vita game, definitely since it's become the indie machine, that you need to hear anything.
No.
So it ends up being this thing where I put something on in the background to be my sound thing that I focus on from an audio perspective, and then the rest of it's just mechanically focused in on the game. I may look up at the screen when I know something's funny about to happen because I've seen the show, but past that, that's how I do it. So I'd say my breakdown is probably like 95% games, and then like 3% series, and then like 2% movies. 'Cause I don't ever read anymore.
I honestly think that I've never used a handheld game, a console with headphones. Like that would be more advised to use headphones.
Early on, I did
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying is
because
it'd
of
be advised.
Uncharted stuff like that.
Yeah, see, I didn't like Uncharted, Gravity Rush, stuff like that. I didn't.
Gravity Rush, no, because there wasn't real voice acting. The music was
I
still
guess that's
okay.
true, yeah.
I would just leave it up. But the games that had real mocapping and voice acting, like the storyline for Killzone Mercenary, I used headsets.
See, no, yeah, not even that. Like, I can't think of a Nintendo Switch game that I did it with. I can't think of like anything for handhelds ever, unless I was like a kid and it warranted headphones because of where I was at. Like, I know
You just really
soundtracks
wanted to
like
hear that Pallet
Pokemons.
Town.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
boom, ba-da-doo.
Emerald Route 118, Slateport City theme. There's so many good theme songs in Emerald, but yeah,
Slateports was awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
like the chimes of bells and almost Christmassy sounding. But yeah, like back to like what I was asking though, is that like I get to this weird point where it's almost like the genre is empty for me because I've either seen stuff that I've been recommended and I can't find anything else that would. It's almost like I need somebody's recommendation to watch it to get me motivated to watch it.
Do you think it's because I would imagine this, right? Of the movies, when you do watch movies, however that breaks into your pie chart, what genre is most predominant? Do you think it's horror, or is that not really the case?
It's not. It has to be in moods for horror.
Okay, so do you just feel like you've watched? Do you feel like you've watched enough of the genre to where the things that are easy go-tos that most people will be like, oh, you should watch this, and you go, I haven't done that yet. You've already done that. So it's like now you're at the point where you need to get deeper recommendations from people that aren't like immediate throwouts of people like, well, okay, well, I like this movie.
Elm Street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've seen all of them, like, obviously. But like that's what but I'm weird with recommendations too, because me and Annie, I can't tell you how many times we've been scrolling through something on Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu. And she's like, hey, let's watch that. That looks like a fun movie. I'm like, nah. But then it gets recommended to me by somebody on Reddit or something. They say it's a real good movie. I'm like, yeah, let's watch it. Because it's like, I know that they say.
I won't take the chance until this random Reddit internet user says that it's good.
That's very rare that happens. More so it's Corey. Corey will say that movie was actually pretty good, or you might like that movie.
Yeah.
It almost gives me the just the drive to see it, or the motivation to see it, because I'm like, maybe it will be good. But I'm real picky when it comes to like streaming services and stuff like that.
Well, I hardly ever participate in that genre because when I find that when I watch movies, it tends to be comedy. Those are the ones that I feel like best serve my time.
I would say comedy / action would be the one.
Because like horror,
I don't really watch action movies.
Because games feel that for me.
Yeah,
and that's why I say so horror I normally get from games.
Mostly animated. I don't usually watch movies. If I watch a movie or feature length, whatever you want to call it, it's a documentary. I do most time documentaries are on. Like, because I can listen to it or watch it while I'm doing something. The same thing with podcasts or YouTube. That's mainly what I do.
See, I'm very much in Blaze's camp. And it's funny, most of the time it's either a movie that Blaze and I either go see together or that we plan to see together and it just doesn't work out. But 9 times out of 10, I think it's fair to say that when we're going to go to the theater, Blaze, it's normal to see something that's animated. Like, I go to the theater a very select times throughout the year. Like, I've been more to the theater in the past 5 months than I've been in the previous year before it.
Oh, dude, I've been to the last, I can tell you right now, the last, like, 3 movies I saw was...
Well, it's also summertime, so a lot of movies...
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. But I've seen Endgame. I saw Star Wars, and Infinity War. Like, those are the last 4 movies. Star Wars. Yeah.
So he's talking about throughout the last like 5 years.
No, well, I'm just talking about like the last, like that's how long I've been to the movies in the last like 4 years. I went to go see Endgame. Before that was the second new Star Wars movie. I can't know.
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, and then before that would have been Infinity War, and then it would have been The Force Awakens.
God,
I really don't think I've been to the movies that much since.
But I'm not much more. Mine have been things like, even thinking about the movies, times I've been, it's been like every How to Train Your Dragon movie. Anything that, if I can really catch it, like Spider-Verse, I saw multiple times. Yeah. So that's why I'm a little unbalanced on my last 6 months of movie watching.
I'll go see the same movie 2 or 3 times in the theater as opposed to seeing a bunch of movies.
I kind of wanted to do that with Endgame, but then again, it was just kind of like, that's 3 hours.
Yeah. I wouldn't watch Endgame again.
Oh, I would. I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray.
No. I mean, it definitely in theaters, but I don't think I'd watch it again at all, honestly. I think I'd be more inclined to watch Infinity. Actually, I did watch Infinity because Hannah was watching
Into the Spider-Verse. Like, Into the Spider-Verse does this weird thing, like where it has to introduce multiple characters over the course of the film, and it's just like that's fun for the first time. That's gonna get old every time after. Not worth it.
I guess I watch How I Met Your Mother and stuff so many times, and they introduce characters on that show all the time. That I guess it might be that is a real problem. I'm just numb to it.
It would just be repetitious for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'd have to like watch.
Because I watched it 3 times in 2 weeks. Not a problem. Yeah. Enjoyed it, but. Part of that has happened is that there was a real like, I want to watch this on the theater 3 times because there's this in the theater. And actually now that I have this TV and I didn't at that point in time, it was a little more like, what are you going to do? I probably won't get to watch it with this level of fidelity and deep blacks and stuff. So it's like the first time was purely watching the movie. The second time was watching the movie and kind of ogling at the animation. And then the third time was picking up entire Easter eggs and then this again ogling at the animation.
Yeah, but and see what I like about that is that it works well in other movies. It just doesn't work well for movies with me where they introduce people multiple times. Like that's one thing in movies that instantly it makes me not want to watch them again is because it almost creates a pacing problem, right? For the people that have seen it before. It's like, well, now we're going to stop for 2 minutes on this current scene to introduce somebody that we already know of. And it's very rare that a movie does that once, let alone once into detail in terms of a story where somebody pops up and they give you a backstory of who they are, let alone 4 times. Because
they speed them up so quickly, and there's a joke about the fact that they're doing that, right? Where even at the end of the movie, they go, "Let's do this one more time," and it does it, and it's a joke. It's like they build on the fact that they realize it's a thing. I think part of it is because it's a comic book movie, and that's kind of just like the joke of comic book people. It's
Comic
like,
books don't do that,
I'm
though.
throwing in a new person. By the way, well, I know, but it's the idea of a comic of where like, how do you translate into a film where it's like if you're reading a comic and you see a character and then you find out that this character has their own comic series, and if you like the character, then you go, I kind of want to read this other series where I can get to know about this character. So it's trying to take that idea and go to, and as far as when they introduce the characters, you notice they always introduce it with a comic book cover.
Right.
It's kind of like
its own visual style.
But even then, I guess my bigger thing, Blaze, I'm curious where you think about this too, because it may just be, again, something I'm numb because I watch so many things over again that I've maybe built an immunity to myself to where it just, I essentially don't notice it because I've immersed myself in it too often. But even then, when you're coming to pacing, I don't think pacing should necessarily exist on whether you've seen it or not. I think pacing.
It broke the pacing up the first time I watched it.
I think pacing has to just be, so that's a more fair argument.
Right.
I thought what you were getting at is that,
No,
actually you did say the sentence of it messes the pacing up for people who've watched it more than once.
Well, it makes it even worse.
So it exacerbates the problem that you already think was there.
It's already subpar pacing. The first time they do it, it's fine. The second time they do it, it's like, this is annoying. The third time they do it, they're like, okay, we don't need 2 minutes set aside for this guy when we're in the middle of a fight or whatever. Because I think wasn't the last person they introduced, the girl, the robotic spider, weren't they in the middle of a fight?
No. It's actually right before a fight started.
Right before a fight started. That's my bit of
Actually, no,
they
did all three of those reveals back to back, because what happens is you meet the new Spider-Man, then you meet Spider-Gwen, and then when they go in the cave and you meet the other three, the spider, whatever you want to call it, the den.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when they go down, they all three come down, and it literally goes quickly. It goes 30 seconds to this person, 30 seconds to this person, 30 seconds to this person. It's done, and it never does it again until the very end of the movie where they make a joke because there's a reason. It's like the setup changed because they set everything back in order. So it's
that's
like,
what it was.
Let's do this one more time.
Yeah, it was when it popped up.
And it literally said that line.
Annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't think it was annoying.
Even if it's in fun jest, it's annoying. And it's ironic because it's not bad, but it's just, that's what I'm saying is that it's subpar. Like, I don't like that kind of stuff. Like, it bothers me, but then when you go to rewatch it, it's even worse.
Yeah, I could see that.
A good thing, or a good example for a movie I love that gets, and I've watched this movie hundreds of times, is in Dumb and Dumber. The whole beginning sequence of that movie is just repetitious.
But it's a comedy.
I know,
and it's also
that's why I've been able to watch it 100 times.
Well, yeah, no, that's the difference between something like I was going to bring up when you were done talking about that, and Infinity War and Endgame. The reason I'm probably not going to get them on Blu-ray, they're more of a single theater experience. You're experiencing that at the end of these different stories. It's not something you watch over and over. You know, it's not. I don't ever see myself maybe watch Endgame one more time just to catch anything I might have missed.
Well, that's why I won't.
But it's definitely
and I enjoyed
not
it enough to
a
buy
comedy
it.
you can watch over and over because it's not serious. You're not.
It's
not
not
an
draining.
experience. It's like you can be cooking something like
they
said
it's
that.
not. It's not like an emotionally draining thing. It's not.
Well,
I don't
the
think it's
thing
that.
is,
Those movies are almost entirely live and breathe realistically on their action. That's what most people view them for. Then the subplots that are there are just a good, fun thing for you to kind of tie into of how this movie pulls into this one.
Maybe
all
I'm
these
weird.
threads coming together.
I use comedies for filler. I mean, not comedies, actions for filler. Like John Wick, I watched John Wick in the background while playing Destiny before, and I've watched that like 3 times.
I wouldn't do that. See, I think comedies have legs, and I think. And this is actually something like Forrest Gump, I think, is one of those things where because it bridges across things,
Forrest Gump makes me sit down and watch.
See, but it's also funny. So it gets legs in multiple points, right? It's not really ever an action movie, which I think action's kind of fleeting, right? You see it once and then it loses its edge. It's kind of like shock value comedy, right? I think, and everybody still has their own thing, but for me, Pineapple Express is a movie that's 90% shock value. There's still some actual humor in there that I find hilarious.
I'm not a fan of that movie, though.
Neither am I, because it's a movie that the first time you watch it, there's a lot of stuff that's just done for pure shock value, and then you're kind of like, whoa, but then it's the moment that I watched it again, I was like, it's kind of boring. Yeah. But I think
that's actually shock value, I guess, would be what I'm
and that movie's got
with
action.
Dumb and Dumber.
So that's kind of what I mean there too.
Yeah, I guess.
But see,
like
comedy should have legs where if it's truly funny. And see, and you can say if whatever it is in Dumb and Dumber you perceive as shock value.
It's just like the whole Harry and Lloyd apartment living thing, like up until they leave to go to Colorado.
I think it sets the movie up. Is why I don't mind it, because if they don't have that scene, then how do you understand why they're going to act the way they do?
It's the same thing as Spider-Verse, right? Like where it's setting characters up. It's just upon multiple repeats, which is what I'm talking about. It's just I will skip through that except the bird scene.
But I think that you rewatching a movie multiple times to where that thing annoys you just because you've seen it enough times, is a fair point. I don't necessarily know that I agree that it was bad in the first viewing because I
never said it was.
I guess I'm just
I never said the first part of Dumb and Dumber was bad on the first
video.
viewing.
Oh, no. Spider-Verse. I'm using Spider-Verse
as
an
I thought you were talking about, it was annoying.
See, and I didn't view that because to me, actually, one of the things I loved about the movie so much is that
was
everything they
did. Thing.
It was tongue-in-cheek, but also...
tongue-in-cheek doesn't mean it's going to be good, despite if it's bad.
And it was only tongue-in-cheek on the last three. It was very quickly, and then that last one that they did, which was really just to be, let's do this one. And it was almost like a summarizing one,
but tongue-in-cheek isn't an excuse.
But the other ones I viewed as the first two that they have realistically, because there's 6 people across the board. There's 2 that you do very early on, and that's the Gwen one and the normal Peter Parker one.
Right.
I think are so important to setting up certain things about who he is as characters.
And those I actually genuinely wanted to learn about.
And I think the other 3 were just to, again, and that's why they moved so quickly.
They were quicker.
Yes.
Because they knew you wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing, though, is that, like, for me, that just was one of those things that bothered me. Oh, you're out of water?
Yeah.
Out of water.
But yeah, it's just like upon subsequent viewings, there are things that like movies I love that do the same thing Spider-Verse did. Because I like Spider-Verse a lot, but it's just one of those things that like I won't mess with again.
See, I need a lot of time between certain movies. And what I was getting at that is like, I think certain horror movies just lose it for me because the value is only in the mystery of what you don't know about. Like, you don't understand it. Or, again, the grotesque bloodiness of something, which does have a value.
Or the jump scares. You know, it's like, oh, okay, this is coming up now.
Yeah, or the plot twist or direction, like in Saw movies. Like, I will never watch.
See, I need a lot of time between. So I'm ready to borrow them from you again, A, because I never finished it. And it's been so long since I've watched the other ones that I have vague memory. Actually, I remember Saw 1 and 2 very well. I remember 3 and 4.
Saw 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But yeah,
my phone autocorrected. I was trying to talk about the Saw movies on Twitter, and my phone was like, "You're talking about Saw. Yeah. I know you are." So,
but yeah, it's one of those weird things that's like I would never watch The Ritual again unless I'm showing it to someone, and I would confidently say that The Ritual is one of my favorite horror movies.
Is it kind of like what you talked about with when we were on the porch after recording Triangle Square the other day, and we were talking about Metal Gear Solid 4, and you said that watching someone else playing the game is fun because you get to see their reaction. So would that exist for you for The Ritual as well? As like
it'll
watching
exist for me in any format. If somebody's watching a movie, I'll watch it again with them to see their reaction. If it's a game, TV show, whatever it is,
and it's heightened because of that,
it gives me that reason to. I'm not having to pay attention to the movie as much as I'm paying attention to the.
You feed off of their energy.
Yeah.
It ends up being good because you can tell
when The Last
it
of
was
Us
good.
came out. I wanted to see people, see the first scene.
Yeah, that first opening.
Yeah. And it's like you go to YouTube and type in like Chloe react, not Chloe. That's Uncharted. Sarah. It's such a common name I couldn't remember, but yeah, I've looked up.
That's such a basic white bitch name. She was probably drinking a pumpkin latte.
But yeah, with Last of Us 2 coming out, I looked up 2 things. One was a reaction of somebody midway through the game, and then one was Sarah.
Okay, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, B.
That old T.
T, yeah, I get T and B mixed up. Bill.
Letters.
Bill and Ted.
No, yeah, I get the basic alphabet.
What was his name? No, you said Ted. What was his name?
What are you talking about?
The guy in the middle of the game in the city. The high school scene.
Oh, we're talking about a different one. No, that is B. I thought you were talking about T. But we're not going to get that. We're spoiling.
Yeah, no, not
spoiling. You just gave the location away.
I mean, there's a city in The Last of Us.
And the beginning of the name. Now they're going to be like, wait a minute, we're in a city. There's a character with a B. He dies.
There's like 4 characters with the name of B's in cities.
Well, if you haven't played The Last of Us by now, then.
Yeah, that game, you're about a decade. Not quite a decade. Was it 6
years?
A decade?
6 years, I think.
2013. It came out the year that PlayStation 4 launched.
Yeah, 6 years.
I mean, we're in the 6th year.
Yes.
That's half. That's not even, barely over half a decade.
Yeah, but still. Boy, past spoiler territory.
I wasn't arguing about that spoiler territory. I was arguing about the decade comment.
Yeah. Well, 6 years is not a decade.
You always throw out it's been like a decade. And you're like, no,
you got to exaggerate.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait, well, that was a little hyperbole.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially we did that yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Where we were talking about Metal Gear Solid or something.
And I said something like,
been 30 years.
It does it this many times, and you're like, well, it doesn't do it that many times. I'm like, yeah, that was a little hyperbole. It's like, but I guess you jump to that because it's like, I'm trying to make my point. Damn it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm going to jump to this hyperbole where if you've not played the game that's a decade old, Because it sounds better than if you haven't played this game that's 6 years old.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
it's got more punch to it.
Yeah, it might as well be a decade old at this point.
See, I don't agree with that, but I think that's like a debate tactic of, well, you should have played. I haven't played The Last of Us. Well, you should have. It's a decade old.
Well, depending on what the media is, right? Like you got to give like spoiler time. I'd give movies a month.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Well, not everybody goes to the movies.
Oh, I know. I think spoiler time has to be decades. I am fine talking about the story of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure because it came out in the 80s. If you've not watched it at this point...
Hey, what was the deal, though? Okay. You couldn't talk about anything Avengers for, like, people act like it was sacred territory, but the minute Game of Thrones
yeah, dude, Game of Thrones
Twitter was like...
Well, I think
see, that's the social media law, right? Everyone on social media comes to an agreement.
If you didn't watch it, you didn't care.
Well, and they technically spoiled Infinity War.
Like everyone had.
Oh, yeah, but that was all memes and cleverness. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
that was more people trying to be trolls instead of people who were doing the Game of Thrones thing where they were just literally going out and not even putting spoiler tags.
I can't believe so-and-so died on this episode.
See, I haven't watched it, so I'm just going to throw random names out. I can't believe that Jon Snow got his head bit off by a dragon. It's like, damn, you didn't put anything.
How are you going to spoil the last episode like that? Not the last episode, by the way.
First of all, I literally don't know anything about the story.
I will say that the fact that Jon Snow got the ending he did, I'm really pissed off about. But that's all I'm going to say about that.
I had a conversation with a coworker
about that.
Yeah, it pissed me off.
That's all I got.
Let's come back to the Forrest Gump. Great movie. Nah,
Forrest Gump overtalked, overhyped.
Nope.
4 out of 10.
That's great.
Next thing I know, you're going to tell me that Castaway is a 1 out of 10.
Castaway is not as good of a movie as Forrest Gump, though.
I actually agree with that.
I actually disagree with that.
The one thing I'll say about Castaway that I think is impressive is that it finds a way to be compelling despite essentially minimalistic dialogue for 45 minutes.
That's what makes it so
How
good.
do you care about a movie that is essentially, for all intents and purposes, for the first half, it could just be a silent film, and I think I'd enjoy it just as much.
I love every Tom Hanks movie I've ever seen. I will say Castaway I like a little bit more than Forrest Gump, and there's one reason for that. I've seen Castaway less.
That's fair, actually.
I know every single thing that's got into Forrest Gump. When Castaway, though, it's one of those that's more tolling on you in a way. Because Forrest Gump is tolling at the end on you mentally, but it's more Castaway is just like, man, this is sad.
Well, Castaway doesn't really have a lot of comedy, right?
There's no good resolution for anybody either. Dude, he goes back and everybody's married, and it's just like, why? Like, this is sad.
Yeah.
This whole entire movie.
It's realistic.
It is. It is very realistic.
It's one of those things where I love, like, that's what we talk about sometimes when we're in Triangle Square talking about games of, I wish more games would be ballsy and just end on crazy crap and be like, that was the end? Nobody had a happy ending at all.
That's kind of how The Last of Us ended in a way, right?
Yeah, in a way, right? Part of it's that
Joel got what he wanted.
Well, and people, that's a hot topic for debate too, because some people say the ending was bad because of Joe being selfish.
No, it's realistic.
But it's realistic.
No, it is. Yeah. I know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's bad. I like the ending. I do think. Was there an alternate ending to that where he left Ellie there?
No. Well, God.
If you haven't played, listen. If you haven't played The Last of Us yet, and you're anticipating it for 2, just don't be anywhere on the internet because it's gonna get spoiled for you. Back to the show. But yeah, it's one of those, and I didn't say where Ellie was or why she was there.
She was there?
Yeah, but see, the thing is just knowing. Hold on, but just knowing one thing when you get to that scene, it ruins it.
You're doing more of the spoiler though right now, because when somebody says a contextual thing like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait for this to happen." Oh yeah, there's a plot twist. That's the more of a spoiler part.
Well, no, you literally said what the twist was. You said
now you're forcing me to explain that you.
I don't want to. Let's just be quiet.
Because you don't know if it's at the end.
We're dickish.
20 minutes till the end.
We're dickish.
We are dickish.
Not assholes. Dickish.
I mean, I would say a 6-year-old game being spoiled is more in the dickish territory than asshole.
Also, more importantly, where do we stand on the suffix ish? Can you put that on any word in your mind and it work?
I think it's possible-ish.
See, what's funny about that's almost like a double negative. Because possible already means that it could happen, and then ish is like, well, it's kinda like
ish in one of my because it's always hyphen is.
Kinda ish would be the ultimate. That makes no sense because kinda already means
because I think it does fit on everything, because ish for me is more, it's weird, especially depending on the context you use it in. It's more of a that's the exact
it's the equivalent of kinda.
It doesn't even. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that you could say kinda-ish, and I'm gonna picture you in my head saying kinda,
and then it's like you're second guessing your kinda.
Right? Yeah. And that's like, are we dickish? Are we nice? Are we assholes? DAB, dab.
Did I ever?
What are you pointing to?
No, Lord.
No, I'm not doing that. The last thing we need
that wasn't
here
even
is,
on mic.
is gas being released.
It needed to be there. Blaze, did I ever tell you? I know I told Saul, but I don't know if I ever told you that I wish, and it would be so dumb for us to all three be really great friends, but all be named Robert. Or Richard. I'm sorry, Richard, not Robert. Richard.
I'm just sad Saul's name doesn't start with the B.
Yeah, the BBB. We'd all be that. But no, what it was, if we were all, and that would be just way too much dedication to something. But if we all changed our name to Richard, so
I'm not changing my name.
I know, but so the show could be called Richard at best, and it would be the same joke.
What if my name was?
Then your name would be
the
Charlie.
PBCs. Well, your name isn't Charlie, so does it matter? Are you even getting picked up on the mic over there, Mr. Stretch Armstrong? Yeah, see? Saul, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go buy whatever chair that your ass desires.
It's actually
the one with the new 3000 model with the dildo insert.
I just have to go to the chiropractor's. All it is.
Have you seen, and I know Blaze have you ever watched, I know you've watched at least a little bit of them. How many of the Explosum comics have you watched? The Cyanide and
lot
Happiness?
of them.
Have you ever
watched?
Yeah, they're shorts.
There's videos.
I don't think I've watched a lot of those.
Okay,
I've read back in like 2009.
Yeah, there's one. I've done those for so many years now, probably like 2006, 7, who knows. But there's one where there's a guy
back that long
who goes to a chair place and he's sitting in a chair. He's like, oh, that's comfortable. And he gets another one. He goes, that's comfortable too. And then he sits in a row and he goes, wait a minute. And it turns out that his ass is comfortable. So what he does is he goes through and sits on everything and has like a joke about it. He sits on toxic waste, so he gets cancer and dies. And he donates his butt. His dying wish essentially is to have his butt sewn onto a chair, and he delivers it to the furniture store from the beginning of the thing so that they can sell the most comfortable chair ever, which is a chair with his ass sewn onto it. It's golden.
They have so many original
I love them
ideas.
dearly.
Bye, Blaze. My boy needs to stop eating dairy. Oh, I'm sure you do.
Sure you do. On the way to pee, you'd be crop dusting up a storm.
You can never tell because dairy makes it quick anyways.
Yeah, I guess, man. If you have a dairy intolerance or whatever it is, or is there popcorn?
I sniffed it and I'm like, I know I'm not about to smell anything. Man, I'm so hungry right now.
What you hungry for, Saul? Hit us with it.
You know what? It's gonna sound weird. I'm gonna sound like a plebeian, but it's McDonald's.
That is weird.
Okay,
that's not completely fair. But what I want from McDonald's is literally only available in the morning. So I every Friday get, and we've talked about this a little bit. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on a podcast.
You talked about it on the Reader Mail before.
There we go.
Chicken
every
biscuit.
Single Friday, I get a chicken McGriddle. If you haven't had it, I don't even know if it exists anywhere else.
By the way, it won't exist here depending on where you go. You go to the one on 9th, right?
Here's the thing. It's not a menu item anyway.
It's not, because the ones at Callin will not do it.
Well, see, I just tell them what to do.
No, they won't do that.
I know why. And actually, this did come up recently. The one down on 9th Street made it it's not on menu, but they have a button for it on their computer. What happened is McDonald's stopped letting you sub. You used to be able to sub. So the way that I used to do it is it's not even that. You just say, because you can just buy the
chicken
round
McGriddle
egg.
With a round egg.
So what you could say, you have to sub chicken on there because chicken McGriddle isn't a thing.
Right.
That's the problem. So what you do is you say, I want a McGriddle sub chicken, or I want a chicken biscuit sub McGriddles. They don't let you sub anymore.
State Line won't let you do that.
Yeah.
So I literally went. It was 2 months ago. No, like 2 weeks ago, and we went to, and I was like, I want a McGriddle with chicken. They're like, we don't put chicken on McGriddles. I was like, okay, can I get a McGriddle with chicken patty on the side with a round egg? And they're like, we can't do just chicken by itself. And I was like, I looked at the menu and I'm just like, there has to be something on this menu they can cook right now with chicken in it.
You would have to do a chicken biscuit and order the chicken biscuit and then take the chicken off of the biscuit.
I would rather make them a gangbang.
See?
And
a McGangBang?
Okay, hold on. Elaborate.
Enlighten us.
Are you serious? Y'all never heard of that before?
No.
Oh, man. Okay, here's what you do.
See, here I was thinking that you were clever and made up something original. I should have known that you're pleb ass, as you just said.
There you go, stealing my words, call me pleb or unoriginal. But here's what you do, and this stems from like
this is how you perform the McGangBang.
This is like when I worked at Journeys, and I was getting like
the
McBukaki. I was getting like $140 paycheck.
McDingo party.
And whoa. But you actually like have I think it's different for what the actual
the McCuck.
I think it's different from what's on the internet. But like what we
glory hole.
What we did here is no, it's the exact same. So this is the McGangBang is a very popular, if not most popular secret intimate McDonald's has to offer. By the absurd but grotesque title, you can already tell it's a combination of sorts. And
by the title, you can
by the absurd yet grotesque.
This is a little different.
Is gangbang considered grotesque language?
This is a little bit different, but basically what you do is you take you order
how do you gangbang, Saul? Tell me.
You order 2 double cheeseburgers and a hot spicy chicken, and then you literally take
3 fingers?
No. You take
4?
What is it? Now that I've not done it in so long.
You fist? Lord.
Stop. You got to stop me.
See, well, that's why I feel like there's elements of why this would work better as a video podcast.
Well, yeah, they're doing some grotesque things over here with their arms. But okay, so like what you do is you take a double cheeseburger and you take it's a hot and spicy. And I think that you could technically do 2 double cheeseburgers if you like a lot of bread, but I don't. But you essentially just take them and mush them together. Like you open up the double cheeseburger, where each side has cheese and meat and patty, or cheese meat bun, and then you like literally put the hot spicy on in the middle and you just close it. And that's a McGangBang. It's literally bread.
That's an
elaborate. I used to not mix them together, but I used to get like 3 hot and spicies, take all the bread off the sides, and make it just
a triple.
This is like a chicken
that way
burger.
You don't.
I have done it
less carbs.
For what you sound like, because of course I was a young kid who didn't care about carbs. But what that sounds like to me is essentially what I used to call the ghetto Big Mac. It's like you just get stuff and you just put it together and you just put a layer of bread in between each piece and just kind of go about it.
Not to jump, but remember when the 5-layer burrito was 89 cents?
Oh, glory days.
That is a hat. Make the 5-layer burrito 89 cents again.
Corey has given us a great idea.
The crawfish hat.
You know what? We should make a shirt, if nothing else. It'll be our first Dickus at Best shirt. It's make the 5-layer 89 cents again. Here's what I wonder. Was it only 89 cents in certain parts? Like, was it 89 cents across the board? Was it 89 cents? Well, there has to be advertising stuff, right? So you advertise based off of region.
Well, it was 89 cents and it went up to like $1.19. We're like, what the fuck?
And then it went back down because they got a lot of fight back on that.
It went down. At least ours here.
It sounds like the same conspiracy that we were talking about for the thing where I thought at the time, I was like, they only raised the price so that people would get mad. They'd be able to say, we want it to be 89 cents again. And Taco Bell would say, we're listening to you.
Taco Bell's the worst about introducing something delicious and then taking it away. At least the McRib comes back around. The Sriracha 5-layer still hasn't come back around.
It's been once and you've never seen it again.
You can make the Sriracha 5-layer your own.
Well, no shit, but if I'm going through fast food, I don't want to fuck with it. I want...
No, like you can order the same thing, the components
they don't have the sauce.
From their menu. What do you mean they don't have the sauce?
There's a special sauce.
The Sriracha sauce.
Yes.
Do they not have?
No, they do not. That's the only thing they have.
Because it's not just Sriracha, first of all.
It's the Sriracha mixed with the 5-layer sauce.
Yeah, it's Sriracha with like mild sauce and I think Thousand Island dressing or something weird. It's creamy, right?
Yes.
I swear their the potato burrito or whatever it's called has that in there. I'm almost certain it does because it tastes. Burrito. Yeah, it's loaded potato.
Cheesy potato burrito.
Yeah, loaded cheesy potato burrito.
That's nacho cheese.
No, it is not.
There's nothing. No, there's Chipotle in that.
Is that what it is?
And it's not creamy. It's the same thing that's in
their quesadillas.
Exactly.
Okay, no, they were talking about something else then. There's some potato thing
I got.
No,
the Sriracha sauce was a unique sauce they did.
This tasted like Sriracha sauce. Which
now, this might be what happened. They might have put it on. They might have had some for some odd reason and put it on there, or put something that's close enough that you couldn't tell.
Chipotle and put it on there instead.
Yeah, because what I've had happen sometimes when you go to you just go to get something and they'll just mess up. I've been to on the border here and I get a chimichanga with fajita chicken and shrimp in it, and for some reason they put rajas in it, which is not ever supposed to be in their menu.
That? That's rice, isn't it?
No, rajas is like onion and something mixed together, and I can't even remember what it's actually for. But I cut it open, and then they came by, and they're like, literally, that's never.
I was there for that.
Been an option. Yeah,
so, because me, you, and Cody came by and was like, I don't know why they put that on there.
Exactly.
That's not on there.
So that's the example though of sometimes food places just mess up.
Yeah,
and just put stuff on that. Like, okay, perfect example. While we're on the thing of Taco Bell, Hannah went through Taco Bell the other day and got one of their crunchy nacho whatever burritos where it's got the Fritos and stuff mixed in.
Oh yeah, the crunchy Frito burrito.
And it was literally just Fritos and sauce, and they just put it and wrapped it up. And she went back by. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And she said that the guy who was in the kitchen said, like, looked and was like, "What'd they do?" And she's like, "Did you do this?" He goes, "I wasn't me." And I was like, "He probably did it." He's probably like, "Shit, I forgot everything else."
And that's kind of crazy because I hate sour cream, and I go through Taco Bell and I get everything that is easy to get that does not have sour cream in it. Like something they
because if you
cannot
tell them
mess
no
up,
sour cream,
you're gonna get sour cream.
Guess what?
And what's worse, you're gonna halfway down that burrito and it's gonna be a pocket of it. It's not even, and you're gonna bite into it and it's gonna be
with a little
cream all up in your mouth.
You know what I don't understand about that though? I make burritos at home all the time. And I have never once been able to figure out a way to put the ingredients on there to where they are not evenly distributed throughout the entire burrito.
You take you have a rectangular part of meat basically, right? Or like a rough rectangle shape.
That's what I do. So
just do the bottom.
Essentially, I have this right here.
You just spread it.
I have a tortilla and I do a circle of nacho cheese or essentially the Tostitos
That's why,
dip.
because you're doing a circle.
And then I do a circle of cheese on top of that, and then I do a line of beef. And then I do rice on top of that, sauce on top of that, and then more cheese.
Imagine on your line at either end, you're just coating it with.
And then you just roll it, and it means that throughout the entire thing you have one bite.
But these are people that don't care about their job.
But it's like they literally just squirt it all in one spot. And
that's
go,
what they
that'll
do.
Evenly distribute it throughout the burrito.
No, it's just they don't care. Is all it is. Which is why I get a cheesy.
Maybe we do need $15 an hour so that they'll care enough. They still won't, to be honest.
Well,
I mean,
here's the thing: is that
are you fulfilled in selling?
No,
I mean, that's just being honest.
It's in a legit caulk gun.
It is.
Didn't you work at Taco Bell?
No.
You didn't? Okay.
No.
I've just seen them make it. You can watch them in their line when you're in there.
Well, no, I just for some reason thought you worked at Taco Bell.
We both worked at La Carreta.
No, I know that. But yeah, like that's why I'll get safe menu.
The wagon, by the way.
I'm scared of like sour cream.
The feminine.
I'm scared.
It's the feminine wagon.
Do you see do you go to a therapist and be like, I don't know what it is, but when I see sour cream.
There's something about sour cream that makes me gag. And it's just, it's one of those things that's, the menu, I get a quesadilla because those steak quesadillas don't have sour cream on them. I get the cheesy Frito burritos.
Yeah,
they don't have sour cream on them.
If anything, they have like a hot sauce thing in them, don't they?
I love them, yeah. I get the potato burritos because they don't have they have tomatoes in those, I think.
Yeah,
I literally like fact check myself when I go through to see what has.
I get what you mean a little bit, but so you said that it's that sour cream makes you gag, right?
Dude, instantly.
Okay, this is something that it's not that it made me gag, but it's just something I did because of a one-time situation. Anytime that Hannah makes spaghetti, she gets weird because she puts hers in a bowl and I put mine on a plate and spread it out evenly. And I take my fork and I just do it in little parts. And she's like, "Why the hell do you do that?" And it's because when I was like 11, maybe a little bit younger, I might have been 9, but it was somewhere in that little window.
How do you separate it? Go back.
I put it on a plate.
It up with the fork.
I put it on a plate and kind of evenly spread it across the plate, and then I just chop it up with a fork all the way through.
That's what I thought you said.
So, and she goes, "Why do you do that?" And it's because when I was like 9 through 11, somewhere in that pocket, my mom made spaghetti. I got food poisoning from somewhere, or I was sick and had a stomach bug. I'm not sure, but I ended up throwing the spaghetti up.
And it almost choked you.
No, what happened is, this is the problem with spaghetti, right? If you're a dumb little kid and you don't chew enough and you just swallow a bunch of noodle, then what happens is, I didn't chew it enough, so when I was throwing it up, it was coming out in noodle strands. And you know how when you throw up and you throw up for long enough, you have that thing? It wasn't in my nose. It was where when you throw up for long enough, you feel that need to have to gasp for a second so you can get some intake before you start to throw up some more.
No.
You've never had that?
No.
Maybe it was just because it was spaghetti. And
I think
don't
you
throw
just
up very
didn't chew
often.
food properly and you were just
it's probably true, but
you were being suffocated by the food.
So what happened? It was coming out though, and then I said, and it got to the point where I was throwing up so much, and I ate so much spaghetti as part of it too, that it was coming up, and then whenever I had to like gasp to get some air to be able to keep throwing up so that I wasn't going to pass out or whatever is what it felt like. I ended up kind of going, ugh, and it made noodle shoot right back down my throat, and it felt awful. And it made me throw up even more and even harder.
The one time that I can sympathize with that was that funnily enough, it was McDonald's. And it was like I didn't chew up my food well enough because it's like literally the burger was coming back up and stuck in my throat. Oh. Like I could not breathe. And I just had to like keep heaving.
I did that with Subway. And
I hate Subway.
Here's the dumb thing. Again, I was young.
Subway is good once a year.
I was probably 10. So it was somewhere in the same window. I might have been a little bit older. We were still in the house out in the country. We went to, my mom got a Subway. I was eating Subway. I did not chew it for shit. And when I went to go throw it back up, because I don't know what happened.
You know, it's the trend. It's like, I don't know what happened. I didn't chew it, and I threw it up.
What? Not chewing
I ate a bunch.
You see how I eat now. I still don't chew very well, and I never throw up.
Way too fast.
Dude, I don't know. I don't mean to.
You just gotta keep it a conscious thing to slow down. It's better for
I've
your
tried
digestive
a lot of times and it doesn't work.
Trust me, with my stomach issues, slow and steady.
Similar situation. It wasn't that it was getting stuck in my throat, but it was one of those things where I'm a kid, I'm running, I had to throw up, and the first thing I saw when I went to the bathroom was the sink directly in front of the door. So I threw up in the sink, and our sink, it wouldn't go down because it was huge chunks of sandwich.
Oh my god!
So my mom had to put gloves on.
Dude, that reminded me.
Made your mom do that?
The way you said,
I was sick, man.
the way you said as a kid running, I had immense flashbacks of when I was 16 or whatever, and it was back when I was dating Brooke, and we were going to Hickory Street Church.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Sunday night. You might have been there, where it was a scavenger hunt. Were you there for that?
I don't.
Well, they had chili cheese dogs, and they had a lot of chili cheese dogs and stuff. And they gave us a map, and they were like, go to this map, and you're going to find hidden things. The team with the most wins something or another.
They win another chili cheese dog.
Well, like we had the map, and we had it had Walmart on there, and then to the right of Walmart was a tree with an egg in it, and we were like, okay, this is weird, and we realized that tree was in Brooke's house. It was in her yard, I mean, because she lived to the right of Arkansas side Walmart. So we get there, and there's a tree in her yard, and I've had like 3 chili cheese dogs in me at this point, maybe 4, and I'm the only guy there that can climb that tree. So like it's not a.
So you're physically exerting yourself.
It's not
with
a
chili cheese dog.
And this was a good
10 years ago.
That
A little
chubby
bit longer,
salt.
12 years
Are we
ago.
back to the decade thing?
Chubby
No,
salt
this was sophomore year.
Yeah,
or
chubby
junior
salt
year,
phase.
sophomore, whatever it was.
So when you were dating, that was 2009 for me. So 10 years. Yeah.
2009 for you? How was it 2009 for you and not me?
My point is that was 2009 because I remember that I was a freshman at the point, or not a freshman, a 10th grader at the point.
Okay, you're speaking in time riddles. But,
yes, I'm speaking in time
anyways,
riddles.
How were you a freshman in 2009?
I mean, I was a 10th grader. That's what I said. I was a 10th grader when me and him had Spanish class
Back
together.
onto the story. No, you were a freshman.
Was it?
No,
Then that would have been 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't.
So
yeah.
it would have been 2008.
No,
Yes,
you
it
couldn't
would've.
have been 2000.
2008. Hold
Wait,
on.
okay,
2009,
okay, whatever it was. Anyways, back to the story.
Go ahead.
Because I'm getting thrown off here. But anyways, we climbed the tree, and I had the little.
Did you get thrown off the tree?
I had a little Easter
You
egg.
throw up off the tree?
And the Easter egg, had a little sliver of note in there, and it said, "Walmart customer service by 7 p.m." And we were like, "Okay, somebody's holding us something." The next part of this scavenger hunt, and we're literally right across the street from Walmart. We have just run across the street to Walmart.
This sounds dangerous.
What? No, it was.
You got to risk falling off that tree for Jesus.
We did. I didn't risk falling off of anything. I was on the floor at this point. We looked at it, and it was like 6:51.
Yeah, but you climbed up that tree to get that egg.
I guess so, yeah. But anyway, so it's 6:51, and I have to literally run across county and then across the parking lot, and then we have to go inside customer service. And we have to do that within 9 minutes. I got to about the front door.
Because you were running?
Yeah, to the grocery side.
Chubby Saul running, full of chili
It
dog.
wasn't Chubby Saul at that
Yeah,
point.
Saul wasn't chubby at that
But,
point.
this
that
was
was afterwards because
that
I
was
was
like-
so depressed about throwing up the chili
That
dog.
was like 15 years ago is when I was chubby. I lost the weight the freshman year of high school. But yeah, anyways, so I get to the front doors, like the grocery aisle or the grocery entranceway. And you know, like Walmart has those glass panes that you can see into.
Yeah.
I just stopped. I just looked at the glass pane and just projectile vomited everywhere. And it was so much. And it wasn't because of like food poisoning. It's because I ate 4 chili cheese dogs.
And then climbed a tree and
ran around in the middle of summer, and it was like 110 degrees outside. And there was so much vomit. I really don't know how I puked that much. But there literally
because you ate that much.
that's one of the only times I've thrown up in public, and I did not care. I was just like, I'm throwing up. I don't care if everybody's looking at me. I got to get this out.
It's like, do you remember the milk challenge of who can drink a gallon of milk?
That was
the
always
quickest?
that was always a prank.
That almost always ended
That
in
was
somebody.
That was never a real challenge. That was always a
Oh,
prank.
I know, but it doesn't matter. Most challenges are pranks. It's to see if you can get somebody to try and eat
True.
7 crackers in 30 seconds or whatever the hell it was, or put
Yeah.
a spoonful of cinnamon in their
Cinnamon.
mouth. Because, of course, most people's bravado is going to be like, I'm going to do this on camera because I can do it. And then the moment they do that, they shake in their mouth and go and choke on cinnamon.
The fact that I
Hold on, though. Didn't you tell me? I want to make sure I didn't hear something wrong the other day. When we were playing
No, yeah,
Destiny.
I was just about to say, I watched Jesse Darby Tillis do the cinnamon challenge with not a or a tablespoon. He did it with a soup spoon.
Oh,
And
Lord.
he just put it, he took it like a champ. He literally just ate that entire spoon of cinnamon and like swallowed it. and it was done. And we were sitting there like, hey, Jesse, how'd you do that? We couldn't even do a tablespoon or a teaspoon, whatever it was.
You know what the goal probably is? The way to probably get around. I thought about it.
It's pre-moistening.
Dude, just get a ton of saliva built up in the bottom of your mouth.
That's what I did. And it just sucks that away. It literally becomes like.
Of course, but if you can get enough, then it gets to a point where you could swallow it almost like a paste.
No, I tried to have a mouthful of saliva when I did it, and it just did not work. It did not work.
Yeah. See, I remember. How old were you when y'all did this? Was that around the time that it was big? Because we were in freshman year, me and Devin and Christian and everybody
I was
were
like
doing
22.
it. Oh Lord, y'all did it way later. Did the cinnamon challenge come back around?
Yeah, that was when everybody else was doing it, but I was not like.
Did you ever see the Popeyes biscuit challenge?
Yeah, Joe and or not Joe, Jesse and Chris did that one.
That's
We used to go to Popeyes a lot.
Mm.
I think you were there that night. I was telling you the story of like, yeah, it was because it was Evan spilling the beans. We literally got like.
There's a better story involved with that, but I'm gonna keep it off of air for once.
Yeah, I am too. But yeah, like we literally got like a $40.
This is why you need to play Destiny with us.
Yeah, I accidentally paid $40 for like a family dinner at Popeyes. I thought they said
Accidentally?
13. No, I thought they said 13, and they said 33. And I get up there, I hand them my card. And then they go back and like they're like, here's one big bag, here's another big bag, and here's one small bag, and here's 3 drinks. And it's me and Joe, and we're like, I think we got the wrong order. And they're like, no, you didn't. You're the only one who been drive through for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, thank you. Thinking like I got away with all this free food.
For $13.
We looked at the receipt when we got back. Nope, got charged full $33. And it was like literally
bamboozled again.
It was like a family box full of fries, coleslaw, and I hate coleslaw, mashed potatoes, and like a full chicken, basically. 2 full chickens. It was a lot.
Were you young enough at that point to be doing the thing where like
I was like 22.
Everybody hates something, so you'd be like, we're going to make a bet around it. Like one of my go-to examples of that, when I was in the 7th or 8th grade, I took a Rice Krispie treat and took the the school spinach that's always like the wet prepared spinach that's awful, and I put it in there and sandwiched together and ate it for like $10 because I was a broke boy.
You're making sushi.
Sweet sugary.
Wait, you just said that you did that because you're a broke boy?
I was broke young man. Yeah, I was in the 8th grade. They had snack line, and I was like, dude, I would kill.
But where's the spinach come from?
This was at school, free lunch. But I ate a ton.
I was gonna say, wasn't free lunch at North Heights like? It was a full like dinner or like
it was a burger, fries, and then depending on what you got that day. This wasn't my spinach.
You probably ended up getting
this
like
was somebody else's that did something.
Like chicken nuggets.
I always got the burger and the fries because there was a burger line.
They let y'all pick at North Heights.
They did it.
Well, screw y'all.
They did it at Arkansas High as well.
They did Arkansas High for me, but at North Heights it was like you get
somebody
the hot
else
meal
got something that had the spinach, and then they went and bought a couple of Rice Krispies, and they had one and. Of course, somebody said something about spinach. I was like, spinach is disgusting, and I don't want that. And they're like, I was like, if I put it in this Rice Krispie and give you $10, will you eat it? And I was like, I sure will. And of course, after that, it was disgusting too.
I'm trying to think about
what's weird. I don't mind spinach. I eat it in salads these days. I'll be like, hey, you know what? This is not bad. Why is it that when you make it wet,
spinach is gross?
Yeah,
canned spinach.
It's been in a can, and it's got that
leafy spinach is good. Like because leafy spinach to me doesn't have
baby spinach. I guess is the difference, right?
But
is a real big spinach? What is that?
I don't know.
Is that what they make?
Why are you asking me?
Because you've got a wife who loves all the fruits, and you have a garden, and you have a mandingo zucchini.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
No,
did you see it?
Check out this zucchini.
Did you see it?
I did.
Okay, it's important.
The fact that you called it a mandingo zucchini.
Oh, I'm sorry, mandingo.
Yeah, Mick.
Oh, would it be a McDingo? That's what it'd be. Yeah. We'll just.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
That's just it on a paint cup though.
Why did you make that?
Why did you?
I guess why did the Earth make that? Why
did you make that? Did you look at the garden and go, "You will be"?
Surprise. Yeah, I was just looking around and I went. I never talk to myself. Like anytime around myself, no matter how surprised I am, I don't make noise. I just kind of.
I keep it.
I saw that. I went, the fuck.
Man,
I woke up and saw on my phone, as just in the preview line, it just said, "Look what the fuck I just found in my garden."
The girth is about
like 5 inches in diameter.
Dude, shit, I'm not this big. It looks like a goddamn club.
Well, isn't zucchini and squash the same thing?
No.
I mean, zucchini is a squash.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean. Like, I've had fried or whatever. How do you prepare those two? And like they taste and look, they smell the same.
They are grill.
Most people grill zucchini. You can do grill squash,
boiled
yellow squash,
zucchini, or I guess boiled or oven fried or oven baked. It's nasty. I hate squash and zucchini.
Oh, zucchini's good, grilled.
Zucchini and squash are the same thing. Zucchini is the Italian word for the fruit. The French call a courgette. In the U.S. and Canada, we refer to most
A courgette.
cucurbita pepo, what the hell, as squash, which I believe comes from a Native American word. So all zucchini are squash, but not all squash are zucchinis. Because there's yellow squash and there's zucchinis, which are obviously green.
Oh, man.
And that might change depending on where you're at, right?
They grow flowers on them.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, actually. That's pretty interesting. Well, it's like, what was it I talked about? Cashews grow on the top of like an apple fruit. Or the bottom of an apple fruit?
Yeah, the root of an apple fruit.
It's weird.
It's
not an apple, but it's something that looks like an apple.
A cashew is not a legume. It's a fruit.
Yeah, a legume.
Or it's actually a legume. Yeah, it's a
lagoon. It's not a beach.
But yeah, it's either classified as a seed or a fruit. It's not classified as a legume.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or a nut.
But it's weird that it has all the typical properties of a nut.
It's a seed. It's a fruit.
It's a seed. I don't know. All right. Well,
all right, guys. Thank you all for joining us for this.
Why does every podcast end with nope from Blaze?
For the second episode of Dickish at Best, aka Dab.
What the?
Yeah.
Have you been saving that?
I had to give it to Richard. But
I just had an aneurysm.
We hope you guys like it. If you do, please show us some support. Get in the comments and talk to us, and get our Discord as well. We do have a new Twitter for Dickish at Best as well.
It will be up probably by the time this is going. It's under review.
Yeah, hopefully
not for content.
It gets unlocked. So. But anyways, thank you guys, and we'll see y'all next time in 2 weeks.
One more thing is if you want to back the show or do anything to help support us and what we're doing, you can do so by going to our Patreon, which is down in the description below. I'll put that there, and it'll also just, if you want to go to patreon.com/Nartech, you can do so. But until next time,
we're going to bust a nut.
We're going to bust a nut. I hope that picked up for you. All right. Thanks to our patrons, Chad V, Dan Barber, Josh Jarrell, Matthew Green, my name is Dan, Douglas Below, Sean Samarud, Eric McAllister, Matt Sycamore, Shadowist, Steven Salazar, The Stonard, Travis Below, Eduardo Palomino, Stefan Swanlin, Coy Live, Philip LaGuerre, Corey Hickerson, Brian, Donovan Williams, William Digital Spooker, Derek Porter, Josh Ayers, and Thomas McInnes. Thank you.